Back. Okay, everybody, it's that time again. Your favorite people in the world are here, ready to show you the next batch of stuff. We're going from science and love to booze, but that's how it goes. Welcome to Command X, sponsored by LG. Now, you know our judges, Robin Ray, Gail Anderson, Aaron Draplin, and our special guest star judge, Mark English, past AIJ board member and Elvis impersonator. So, let's bring out our 5 remaining contestants. Bring out the contestants. All right, you guys are up. Sarah, Jacob, Elliot, Amy, and Russell. All right, welcome back. Now, just to remind you about some of these fabulous and not unamazing. Well, they're very good, let's say that. You get $1,000 in cash, 1-year subscription to Adobe Creative Cloud, an LG ultra-wide 21:9 monitor, which you're using at your workstations, and I'm stealing one of those. Shapeways 3D printing, $250 gift certificate, a 1-year subscription to Shutterstock, 1-year subscription to Skillshare, plus fame, job offers, adoration, and love from all of us. So, to remind everyone, the contestants had little under 24 hours to complete the redesign of the Southern Comfort bottle. Now, this is the way it works. Remember, you can vote for your favorite Command X contestant through the conference app or via text message. So please reply, and when this is over, you'll have a chance to vote, and we'll have 20 minutes before we tally the votes and head on back. So, let's see what the contestants have come up with. So let's start with Sarah. Yeah, go ahead. You can dance with it if you want.
Thank you.
Okay.
I feel more comfortable this way. So, to start off, Soko, I had very little idea of what Soko, I've never had it before. So I think I did not get to work right away, and instead I went out and I talked to people, and I had it, and I liked it.
That could be said about so many things.
Well, it was good. So from the people I asked, I was surprised to find that women were responsive to it. They enjoyed it. It was often the first drink they've ever had, alcoholic drink, and younger. And women and men were just kind of like, okay with it, but they didn't like it as much as women did. So this is a photo of, I went out last night, and then I came back to the hotel and started doing a little research about Soko, about the brand. And it's been through like 2 redesigns in the past 5 years. And it has a very interesting story from the mixologist. It actually starts here, but he has a history of, from here, he went to St. Louis and then to Tennessee. And there's like a very southern rich component to the brand, which from looking at the bottles and the brand right now, it just felt a little flat, and the southern subtlety was not there. Like there's a very lush landscape in the South, in New Orleans, like flowers and greenery, and it's very different from the rest of the states. So I thought, how can I take that with this great opportunity of women responding well to the product and kind of come up with a direction to bring them together, appealing to women. So the next slide presents a version of completely changing the brand and using however it's referred to, which is Soko. You ask for Soko, people don't really ask for Southern Comfort at a bar. I asked the bartender, he doesn't get Southern Comfort and lime, please. He gets Soko and lime. So there was a saying from the mixologist, and he said, no gentleman would ask for more. So I said, well, why keep it to gentlemen? Why not, appeal to the ladies out there? So I said, well, no lady would ask for more. And then pushing it one step further, how can it extend to all the products that are part of the Southern Comfort brand, which are like a set of 9 or 12? So the next slide presents a solution that kind of scales well into blending a very simplified type treatment, a very simplified logo, referring it to the name that it is, a shortened version of Southern Comfort, SoCo cut, and the history of the South and the founder behind it.
So how does that work? Does the fruit?
It wraps around.
Okay, it's not like
Yeah.
sticking
So it's
off.
no, it's printed on.
Okay. That doesn't work for shelving.
It would wrap. It would print around, just clear background.
Very nice.
On the bottom.
Robin, what do you have to say?
I think I need a minute to form an opinion.
Really?
I'm not sure.
A minute.
All right, Mark, you go
Need a
first.
minute.
Well, my mama taught me to always say something good about somebody when I first meet them, so nice shoes. Now, you use the term Southern and rich, and I was in Jacksonville recently, and there's Sojo, and I was in Provo recently, you got So-Provo or something like that, and I just keep thinking of New York City and SoCo. So I just think the whole idea, it's gorgeous, but I don't buy the premise. That's what I think.
Gail?
By premise.
The premise is the SoCo. Yeah, the kids today call that, but when I started drinking SoCo, when I had hair a long time ago, the Southern, the rich, the SoCo, it's generic. It's any part of the country where they're, too hip.
Yeah, I'm afraid to me it's very hipster with breaking it down to SoCo, that I think of where I'm from and NoHo and Soho and so on. So I'm not, this doesn't appeal to me as a woman or as a consumer.
What about you?
Aaron?
Or as a woman consumer.
Well,
Sometimes combining both, yeah.
Yeah.
I would start with, I like how you took the subtle cues of the pieces of the typography from the original stuff and tried to make something new. So here's what I would say, is I think it feels maybe sort of limited edition, but new, but
Right.
fresh. I think that's good, because, what is it known? well.
But
Well, we're walking in on this with 3 minutes. I mean, here's the thing. Does it look successful for what it would be in front? I don't know how a woman would be into it or a man would be into it, but I think it feels smart, but it feels very limited edition, like a special version of what what these guys were going for. So I think that's successful for that. But I don't know. It feels a little too, there's a lot going on, and it feels like it was kind of sprinkled on there. I don't know, yeah.
All right.
And Robin?
I'm trying to react, sorry, I'm just trying.
Well, when I look at it, I see Hawaii for some reason. Maybe it's because I'm on the West Coast and the flowers look Hawaiian to me. So I do think it looks like
that's
it appeals to
honeysuckle,
women.
right? Your flower in the middle, that's honeysuckle?
It's a magnolia.
Oh, excuse me.
So it's the state flower of Louisiana.
Okay. But I think,
That was the setup.
I guess, the research was so limited and you had such a short amount of time that the research only came from this area. And so I guess my concern would be that the SoCo, I've just never heard it called that. But again, I don't drink it. So I think it looks feminine. I don't know if it looks like, it looks very young. But other than that, I'm not sure I have any kind of desire to buy that.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
You can indeed.
Well, part of the brief was to how does it appeal to younger people? I think people my age.
Are you saying I'm old?
I don't know, like the millennials of today,
Oh, you don't get it.
they're not.
Come on.
I'm sorry.
That was so awesome.
they want millennials to buy this stuff. They want millennials to read stuff. They want them to buy this, and they're not drinking this
Does it
anymore.
say that in this brief I've got in front of me?
Does it? No, it doesn't
Oh, okay.
say millennials, but it's like,
Okay. I didn't see anything about younger audiences, that's all, because it's not in the brief.
I could see how it would have huge appeal to a younger audience because it's very contemporary.
Okay, so generation gap, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely generation gap.
Okay, Jacob, you're up. Now let's be kind to the judges. Remember, they only get to see this right now and have to make snap decisions.
Well, you have to be kind to us.
No,
Sure.
actually, you don't have to be.
I wasn't nervous until now, so I was totally fine. So with the 24-hour time period, everything is moving really fast. Everything's going quick. So as far as research goes, it kind of comes to, for me, a really gut feeling. This is my first time in New Orleans. I really wanted to just kind of get like a good snapshot. And walking through the city last night, I was really drawn to all the sign painting on the brick walls everywhere. Everything is like very passionately done. And to illustrate that kind of passionate work, I wanted to dive into the idea of a sign painter's touch. And my grandfather was actually a sign painter all of his life. Graphic designers replaced him. But we all get along. So, so on the next slide, I made some little elements by hand and then brought them into the computer for some little fine tuning. So I was trying to embrace the painterly side and trying to embrace my obsessive, gotta be right kind of side. I wanted to make a kind of an icon that was, to me, kind of a relaxing southern comfort. I imagine sitting on a porch with a nice rocker, and it's also a fleur-de-lis, so kind of harkening back to its roots in New Orleans. And I got a little ballsy with the script and decided to go in with a marker and see what I could do. And then that would lead from those components leading up to the next slide. Yeah. Done away with the paper label and instead decided to keep it at a 2-color screen print on the glass to, one, let the nice amber color of the drink kind of come through and just make it just a nice, simple, but elegant touch. I mean, if you think of a sign painter's job, they would paint on glass. So I wanted to kind of also give just that last little edge. So that was my gut feeling, and that is what I did.
You want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
So did I miss the demographic did you define your demographic?
For me, I guess I wanted to be able to appeal to all, gear towards young, but avoid a hipstery kind of look. Less trendy, more authentic was kind of the look there. Mm-hmm. So hopefully a wide appeal, not just a singular.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Well, I like it. I feel like the type is starting to go somewhere. It's not completely worked out. But there are some like minor things with like composition. I feel like the white underneath the lettering is a little bit, the icon is a little large. But other than hierarchy and other than that, I feel like it works. It's a little safe. I don't know what it's telling me that the old label didn't do or that the new revised label isn't doing. I feel like it's just another option. But I like the fact that this one is going back more towards the older label. So I don't really have anything else to add.
I don't know what to add because that pretty much said what was on my mind as well. That I found the icon, the rocking chair, a little big, and that I think it's another take on it that has some history that actually feels better to me than some of the contemporary ones that I saw online. But I know that you had like 2 minutes to do this. I wish it was pushed a little further away from being as safe as it is, but for the amount of time that you have, I think it's a good solution, and I like the script.
I would say that in a perfect world of where there is a decent timeline and actual money to put into it, I think it would be awesome to have featured sign painters to actually come in and do it and have, even if Southern Comfort is written differently on several different labels or different bottles, I feel like it would give a more authentic feel of touch, feel of just the passionate artwork, but that's mine, so.
I think you are a terrific salesman, and you had me at hello yesterday.
Oh, awesome, thank you.
Cute.
I'll go now. Well, here's what I would say is successful. You're allowing the bottle, the amber, because it's not even whiskey. It's something like vodka with stuff in it.
Whiskey flavoring.
Yeah, okay, so a little bit of bourbon in it. But you're allowing that amber to kind of breathe and sort of have a little bit of confidence in being clean, right? When you look, we went last night to a place, Coop's Chicken, and all the stuff was behind there. I remember just thinking, like, what can you read? What can you read? Now, all the filigree and all that antebellum Southern bullshit of like moss and blah, 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 blah. I don't want to get into it, but what it looked, I'm glad you kind of stripped all that away, where you can read it. It feels new. It feels like it's come from that stuff. And there's a nice icon, and then a nice little tiny component of how it works on the little label, because those will sort of separate once you get that thing going, once you open it. So, on the unsuccessful side, I would say all of it could just go white or something, like just let it all those little pieces. You have a nice hierarchy, I can't really slam this stuff. We're just seeing it for the first time. It feels good. It feels like, like if you saw it today, can you imagine it amongst all those other guys? Yes.
Would you have a second shot?
Yeah.
Okay. And Mark?
Well, look, as an old rocker myself, I appreciate the old rocking chair there. And I do appreciate your gut. I mean, guts, as you mentioned in the beginning there. But to follow up on Gail saying your presentation was good, I've got a problem with your presentation. And by the way, it goes to everybody, except for Sarah today. Because 4 times today, you said, I wanted, and then once you said, I feel. Now, my corporate identity professor told me 100 years ago, clients don't give a fuck what you want. It's what the project needs. So take the ego out, always take the I out, and replace it with the project or the objective. Y'all listen over there, the rest of you? For the rest of it, okay. 2, you can never describe your own work as ballsy. Sean could, Robin could, Gail could, this guy could, but you can't. You can never discuss your work in a positive light because, again, that's going back to the ego thing. You just have to present it out there, and these folks get to decide whether it's ballsy or not. That said, it's not too ballsy. It's symmetrical, which is kind of fucking boring. However, I'd go for a second shot, so I like the sign painter idea. I'd like to see a second iteration, and when we fly you out to Las Vegas to do this again, I want to see the second round with the real sign painters in there, so.
All right.
Tip of the hat.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Jacob. Okay, Elliot, your turn.
So,
Were you out drinking last night?
maybe. So, Southern Comfort needed a new brand. It needed people to start talking about it again. So my idea is kind of like this anti-label, this anti-brand that is going totally against the traditional kind of idea of what you think. And this way it will start the conversation. People will know that it's that bottle, that weird bottle. So everything about it, from the language to the design, is going against everything that you traditionally see. And I think this is a great way for it to kind of create this new personality for the brand. So like as you see here, traditionally you see the logo stamped on everything. And here it's really small. I actually kept the original logo because I felt like it's had a tradition, so that's something very important to it. But again, like I said, it's not what you expect. It's really small. So if you go to the next slide, this whole new personality and voice is carried on to all these like secondary ancillaries. I wanted it to be kind of subversive. So it's kind of weird to have, an alcoholic company on a coffee mug. But I thought the language would be really cool if it's like, this is definitely not SoCo because, it's a coffee mug. And I don't know if you can see, but the beer bottle opener actually says, put this down and drink SoCo because, they're trying to sell you something. And so instead of drinking beer, they want you to drink their product. And in addition, to carry on this kind of new kind of idea, the labels, you can say, changes. So there's not, they change, so there's always different ones. And if you go to the next slide, again, there's more of this visual language as well as personality, like I said, so the brand can speak to the consumer in kind of a funny way and get people to remember it. So yeah, thank you.
Robin.
Elliot, who is buying this product?
I think the younger people.
How young?
Oh, thanks. So none of us, we don't care. We don't matter.
Well, like I said, I wanted it to be a complete different direction. And again, just get everyone talking about it, because it's not what you typically see. It's not what you read on these labels. It's usually like how rich where it comes from and the history and what makes it unique. And instead, it's kind of making fun of that, kind of being subversive, like
The writing?
in that.
Well, for me, it doesn't feel subversive. It actually feels, it feels very young, and it feels gimmicky ad agency-like. I don't take it as a real product. So for me, it looks like something maybe high school kids would be into. So it has that kind of
I think high school kids are interested in it.
This would definitely work.
I was in high school when I started drinking this.
Yeah, so do you think...
16, anybody? 16?
So that's my main issue with it. I just feel like it doesn't really hit the correct demographic. It doesn't seem like a very responsible thing to do for the company. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you took a chance, though, that you did something brave, and just threw it out and just to see what would happen. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would. I go back to the design a new label for the bottle. I just had to think of like whoever's paying the paycheck, and this just seems like a kind of a quickie idea, and it's like who's sitting across the table and how you pitch them, and it can't really be done with like shoulder shrugs, kind of like, I just thought it'd be kind of cute. Now this audience understands the irony here, but not old man or old woman, whoever, and that's where it's kind of like, I don't know, it just seems like, I think the word might have been gimmick. Yeah, it feels like it's that like sort of like the little tricks that we understand how to make things. But I just try to think of how this thing is going to work out there, and do people have time to look at the tiny little thing and get it, So I don't know. It feels a little. I think there's some guts there to try that, but I also think as we get to know you, you might just be that kind of guy that always kind of does this. Did you do the snake?
No.
Sorry. But
He did.
Sorry.
He did
Okay,
that.
Mark.
Well, Elliot, I have to applaud you because you're down to 2 I wanteds.
Oh, okay.
So you're down, as compared to 5, down to 2. So by the time we get to you at the end there, 0. 1989 San Antonio AIGA conference. The theme was dangerous ideas. Who was there? Anybody? Okay, 4 of us. You used the word subversive. So between the subversive and the ballsy, this is going to be some ballsy subversive shit. And I'm not really seeing subversive, because if Tibor were here right now, he'd say, I was doing that stuff back in the 80s one way or another. So to use subversive to follow up on what Aaron was talking about, it's more clever. Clever will get you in the door, but a clever joke is only funny the first time. So, well executed. Back to the chair.
Okay, thank you.
I like it. Good job. Okay, Amy. I think it's perfect.
All right. So, Southern Comfort was created in 1884 out of Epicurean necessity. Back then, whiskey barrels would be sent downriver from Tennessee and Kentucky. And by the time they got to New Orleans, they were all banged up, things were in it, didn't taste so great. So, the creator of Southern Comfort wanted to make whiskey palatable to his customers, so he made this whiskey-flavored liqueur. This label shows that history through showing the barrel in two different ways. So you'll see the Southern Comfort here is the side of a barrel, and the next slide shows the application. The top band has the front view of the barrel. The original tagline for Southern Comfort was, as Sarah mentioned, no gentleman would ask for more. I think it was originally more than two. So this label plays on the idea of the refined gentleman or gentlewomanly nature of New Orleans, the South, polite comfort, and that is what drove this label. None genuine but mine was the second slogan, so that's still relevant there and is still used by Southern Comfort. So I created a custom typeface for this, all on the computer, not by hand. My apologies, I know my limits. And used line art to harken back to the old label line drawing, but rendered in a more contemporary way. And the last slide shows more versions of that barrel logo, but we can go back to the first slide for judging. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Amy, great presentation. You know your history. You designed a typeface last night. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aaron?
Yeah, on the successful side, I think it feels new and it feels respectful of where they were. I feel like by flipping it and going dark, it just has a little bit more punch. I'm looking for unsuccessful, to kind of say, why wouldn't it work? But I like that it feels new, and it feels a little more considered. We're losing some of the moss and all that sort of stuff we were talking about, and getting right down to it. I like the story of the little barrel because there's something you can imagine as this thing jumps forward, where you just have just the barrel and a saying, and you say something about the barrels or about the size or the roundness or something. I would like to see, unsuccessful, I'd like to see just a little bit more of the harking back of some of those great little weird parts of the type. So there's some connection to that. So successful, there's a lot. Unsuccessful, it just seems you lost a little bit of that. But that's really it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I like the placement, the shape of the label, but it feels a little bit to me like a default design style now for you, since I've experienced the other logo that you did that I did like. It almost feels like this, and I know you had 24 hours, I totally get that, but it feels a little bit generic, I guess, and maybe it's because it's missing some of the moss and some of the stuff that I sort of liked with the original label. So it's a really hard thing. It's a hard thing to update or make a new label for Southern Comfort, just because the original one was, in my opinion, a really great label. But there's things about it I like. I just feel like it's a little bit clean and a little bit safe. Yeah.
Mark?
Well, I'll tell you, Tina Fey.
I'm more of an Amy Poehler, but that's okay.
Major kudos for no wants, so that was good. Also for knowing your history. What this reminds me of is, back in the day, the cane tucks, the shippers from Ohio and Kentucky would come on down the Ohio, down the Natchez, down the Mississippi, and on down here. And what would happen is it would be fairly generic when they put things on the boxes. So it would be centered, and it would be, generic, to use a phrase we used. Aaron used the word new. I think it's new to Southern Comfort, but not new to whiskey or that rich tradition. So I would pick that up and drink it.
Great, thank you.
And that
so
would be
much.
rare for you.
We can grab one later. Thank you.
Okay, Russell.
Okay. Hey, everyone, again. This is how the South feels to me. I was born in Mississippi. I live in Atlanta now. I'm in and around and inundated constantly with Southern imagery. And I think that, to the point of the judges earlier, too much fine-tuned filigree and moss is not really what it's all about. The way that I wanted this label to feel is I wanted it to feel like, and I know I said I wanted, it's fine, because I did, and I believe in selling via empathy. But I wanted this label. I wanted this label to feel like a party, but a block party in the street with your friends. I wanted it to feel relaxing, like you're kicking something off that's fun. The vibe that I wanted to go for is this is something you serve in a Dixie cup, or this is something that is in a brown paper bag but it has gold foil printed on it. The South always aims to try to have this classic look, but in reality, it's really kind of rough and doesn't always get it right. And so that's the line structure that I wanted to convey in all the illustrations and all the type that were done by hand. There's something a little wonky about it. There's something that's like, man, they were trying, but they might have been drunk when they made it. That represents kind of the aesthetic of all of it, and that represents especially a product like Southern Comfort, which is not whiskey. It's not a nice whiskey label with really clean, sharp serifs. It's whiskey-esque, And I wanted to represent that. This is how the South feels to me. If you go to the next slide, this is the word mark in it. It takes inspiration, the hips of the letters, the extra serifs there, are from French inspiration from boulangeries, which made its way down to New Orleans and kind of influences Southern culture a bit. And then on the next slide, you'll see the icon, which can be placed above, on the top of the bottle itself, or in different applications to reference it as SoCo, which is appealing to the younger generation, like they described last night, what we all call it. So that's my branding.
I wouldn't attack the SoCo thing again. I'd stay away from that.
Okay.
Okay.
I love this one. I love it. I'm not sure, other than just minor little tweaks, like I don't like how large the sort of the medallion shape of the logo, the secondary logo, the SoCo is, but I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, that's actually one that at the last second, once I finished the full
Looks a little
composition, I
big.
realized, oh, this is big, but I don't have time.
Yeah.
Gail?
Yeah, Russell, this is great. I'm looking at it here and then loving it when I'm seeing it on the big screen.
Things are good, giant.
Yeah.
Like giant liquor bottles.
On the successful side, I would say that I really like the humor. I like that there's really nothing lining up, and that's sort of kind of like the South. There's a certain randomness, and it's sort of rough hewn, so there's a certain comfort there with the type and stuff. That's all successful. I like that there's some, there's little things that just aren't afraid to make fun of itself. That little this side up. So I think that's all good. I think on the sort of unsuccessful side, I just wish I had more, like a little more kick. Why the red?
Yeah,
Why the red?
too.
So I thought that if I'm going to be tweaking so much of, I wanted to have elements of the old label,
Yeah.
But I really was also changing a lot. And I didn't want to have too much of a differentiation from where the brand was, so I wanted to keep the red that they already had.
Yeah.
But I instead, their other label, the red is the accent, and it's kind of a manila background. And I just wanted to invert that, give it more pop with changing it to black and white versus manila, and have red as the main part of the label, so that it still had some consistency with where they were coming from, but hopefully it stands out a lot more.
So I just want to jump off there a little more and celebrate a little bit more of like the great decision making. You know, it just seems a little bit like the amber competes with that. So either you strip all that red out and let that beautiful amber jump through, and all that white gets a little bit, a little bit more. But that's really, yeah, I think it's incredible. I think the thinking is great. You're from a place where you understand sort of the weirdness of the South, and also how to handle, you turn on the radio and it's trucks and all that bullshit. But that's how they sell it down there. But there's another side to that that's making it a new South and a cool South and an appropriate South. And I think you're touching on both of those here. So that's cool. That's successful. So, yeah.
Thanks.
You're busting my balls here, aren't you?
Okay, old man English, let's go.
Well, okay. Yeah, the I want count was off the charts. I'm running out of Sharpie here. Like Southern Comfort, there's a lot of stuff in it that's not whiskey, that's not traditional. That said, I appreciate where you're coming from on so many levels. There's a little bit of disconnect because this side up is huge. And that's get your party on with the brown paper bag. The, was that Where You At?
Where you at?
Where You At, all right? But again, it's all this centered stuff where you get two bugles symmetrically. Maybe one is something else. I wonder what would happen. Someone told me not to say I wonder yesterday to start a conversation. I wonder what would happen if you had something beside one bugle and something else. And just, get a little hairier, man.
Yeah, it's good feedback.
But good start. I'd like to see iteration 2.
More Southern Comfort, get some hair on your chest. That's what you're saying. Go for it.
Good job.
Thank you guys. Wonderful as always. Okay, so send your favorite contestant text or vote through the conference app. You have about 20 minutes, so vote now, and then we'll be back, and we'll let you know which contestants have been released to enjoy freedom and fame and fun. Thank you so much. See you in 20 minutes. All right, guys. Okay, that was really close, like nail biter up to the last minute. So this is not easy and really, really difficult. Bring out my contestants. Here they come. Some of you, the last walk. Well, the audience has come to a decision. I don't know, are you guys ready for that decision? Wait.
Just wait 1 second. We're not ready.
Wow, there you go. Good to fortify yourself, right?
Hey, Sean.
It's important.
Sean, this is a time when you can say, I want.
Hey, what about me? Thank you. Don't give it to them. They have mouth herpes.
Ladies first.
Oh my God.
I'll go down that way.
Okay, as I said, this was incredibly...
Hey, Robin.
Okay, wait. Go.
Ooh,
This is,
it's good.
I don't like
It's
this
really
kind of
good.
stuff, so.
Yeah. Nothing like some peer pressure.
Yeah, like I
See?
remember it.
I told you, don't give it to them, they'll guzzle.
It's very subtle. It's very subtle.
All right, so
Southern. It's kind of southern.
two of you will
Kinda
be able to
comfortable.
go off and do exciting and wonderful things, and the rest will be on to the next challenging issue. So, Jacob, Elliot, I'm sorry. It's time for you to move along to your fame, fortune, and freedom. And sleep. And sleep.
Oh.
You're both magnificent and did a fantastic
give it up,
job.
give it up.
Thank you.
Good job.
Hey! Yeah. I can't believe that. Me neither.
All right, we have our top three. It's the three of you down to that. Getting down to the end. Okay. Now, the next assignment is one that is not easy. Sorry. I asked for a really simple one, but they said no. Here's the deal. We need to communicate the importance of changing our culture of gun violence. All right?
Good one.
Yeah. So this is one of the nation's most complex and controversial subjects, obviously, and there's multiple points of view on it. We are the only advanced nation on earth without common sense gun control. We have experienced an ever-increasing number of frightening and tragic shootings, but the right to bear arms is a fundamental constitutional right. So from 2009 to 2013, there were 38 gun rampages in America. The next highest number in advanced countries was 2. In 1996, when Australia experienced a mass shooting, they changed legislation within a week. We have almost become numb to these tragedies because they happen so often and are so much part of our standard news cycle. The third and final project is about gun legislation. We have the power to change the country and change the way that this works. I'm sorry. Now, as President Obama said after last week's shooting in Oregon, our thoughts and prayers are not enough. That's your challenge, to find a way to deal with the subject one way or the other and communicate it to all of us in a fundamental and strong and powerful way. Make sense? Not easy.
Yeah, no.
Go for it. I trust them. If anyone could do this assignment, it's these three. They can do it. All right, thank you. Until tomorrow, we'll be upstairs working away in the fair. All right?